If you've ever sat at your desk, looked at the numbers, and thought something's wrong, this show is for you because what usually happens next is very expensive. You call a marketing agency, you redesign your website, you spend money on ads, you hire another salesperson, you change your logo, you do everything except fix the actual problem. That's why we built this show. Welcome to Unf My Biz. I'm Dustin, co-founder of BestLyfe Group, and for years, my team and I have worked alongside business owners across a multitude of industries: trades, professional services, hospitality, retail, health, fitness, construction, and many more. Some were turning multiple six figures, some seven. Some were hanging on by a thread. Different industries, same pattern. Everyone walked in convinced they already knew what was wrong. Almost none of them did. That's because business owners spend every day inside their business, and it's hard to see the label from inside the box. That's where we come in. To help businesses stop guessing, we look at the whole picture: marketing, sales, operations, systems, leadership, customer experience, because they're all connected. And if you fix the wrong thing, you usually make the real problem worse. That's probably the biggest mistake business owners make. They buy solutions before they understand the problem. That's exactly what this show is about. Every week, one business problem, one diagnosis, one practical fix. No buzzwords, no guru nonsense, no theory, just real conversations from real people who spend every day solving problems. I'm Dustin, and with me is Jarvis, and together, we've got more than 3 decades of experience building businesses, growing brands, and helping business owners solve the problems they face every day. Every week, we'll bring that experience to the table to help you do one thing: unfuck your biz.
Awesome, man. So let's get straight into it. You know, Dustin, probably the number one inquiry we get here at BestLyfe Group is, my marketing isn't working. You know, sales slow down, the phone stops ringing, leads dry up, and the owner's panicking, right? So talk to me about where your mind goes immediately when somebody says that.
Yeah, it goes 2 places. One is that their marketing is in fact not working, that they're paying for a service that they're not receiving, or, the other entity just doesn't know what they're doing. On the flip side, generally it's something very different. It could be clarity of message, but a lot of times it's operations, and more specifically, what's happening in that sales and customer experience process.
Yeah. Why do you think marketing is always the first thing people blame, though?
Because it's not something that most small businesses generally own inside of the business. They outsource it to others, and it's very easy to point the finger at somebody else, and when it's something you don't generally understand.
Yeah, 100%. And how often do you actually find that marketing isn't the problem and it's something else?
So that's a loaded question, in my opinion, because a lot of people think that when you hear marketing, the initial thought for most is visibility. Visibility is just a part of marketing. There are so many other aspects to it. So generally, though, it's not necessarily a visibility problem. A lot of times it has to do with clarity of message, clarity of offer, separating ourselves from our competition inside of that space, what our customer experience looks like, and all of those things are marketing.
So let's get a little in the weeds here. Talk to me. Can you think of a client who came to you and they're like, "Hey, Dustin, our marketing, it needs help," and then it turned out to actually be something completely different?
It's all the time, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, a lot of times when we think of marketing, we think of traffic and visibility. And there are many times that I talk to a prospect and they think that is the problem, and they actually have good traffic.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go a layer deeper and see where people are actually ending up on their website, what their ads actually look like, and what their landing pages look like, so on and so forth, the marketing agency did a good job of delivering the traffic, but they didn't do a good job at what was built to where they were delivering them to, which is generally a page that has, lots of words, lots of content, stuff that doesn't actually connect with the user on the other side of the screen, doesn't explain very well, who this business is, why they're different, how they can solve that person's problems. And so that's where everything is actually broken. And again, they just come to us and they go, "Man, I've been paying these guys for the longest time and sales don't seem to be going up. And so we have a marketing problem, or we just need more leads." And it's like, no, we don't need more leads right now. The actual crack or the issue is where they're actually landing.
Yeah. Have you ever told somebody not to spend money with us because
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes because, what we're really looking to do is, what I call like, give us the keys to the marketing castle. Like we want to own the whole engine because then we're ultimately responsible for all of it. There's no pointing fingers at other people and those kind of things. And very rarely I will have someone that comes to us and they're like, hey, our marketing's trash. I'll do a deep dive and I'm like, man, your SEO is actually solid. You rank well, you're getting a ton of traffic, content on the pages is pretty good. From an ads perspective though, man, there's a ton that, is desired. And if that's the case, then yeah, that's something we can clearly work with. But on the flip side, I've also had other people that come to us and they're like, oh, I have a marketing problem. And then I find out it's really small business. This same person is the one that answers the phones. They can't show up to our meetings on time. They forget the context from meeting to meeting. And they're so scattered that I'm like, I mean, we will literally make your life so much more stressful because when we start driving in more leads and that phone rings more and you start getting more customers that are coming through the door, your systems operationally are already so broken and so disorganized that we're going to make your life hell.
Yeah. 100%. What do you think is the percentage of businesses that misdiagnose themselves?
More than 50 all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's say I'm watching this and I'm a business owner. How do I know if marketing is actually my problem and it's not something else?
Well, I think you have to be able to clearly define what marketing is in your own context. So, if you believe that marketing is just visibility and rankings and your rankings are trash and you're not getting a lot of traffic, then yeah, clearly, that's a part of the problem. And I'm not saying that business owners should be experts in the marketing space, but you should have decent foundational knowledge. And so some, really important things. Yeah. I mean, how many people are coming to my site every month? Where are they landing? But then beyond that, follow the funnel. And more specifically, just follow the traction on the website. So if you're in e-commerce, how many people are adding to cart? How many people are giving us their information? How many are actually checking out? You should know those percentages because that tells you where it's broken. If you're a lead gen business, how many folks are actually calling us? How many people are submitting the form? And then from there, how many of those are we converting to site visits or whatever it is that you do? And again, most don't know those super foundational numbers. So the easy thing to do when sales are down is say my marketing is broken, where in fact, you could have plenty of leads coming in. You just don't follow up quick enough. And especially in service-based businesses, and we all know how this goes, water's leaking in my house right now. They reach out to you and you don't answer the phone, even if they leave a message. Do you think they're waiting 4 hours, 60 minutes, even 20 for that emergency to be taken care of? No, they're calling the next guy who has less visibility than you because they called you first.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that happens all the time. You wouldn't believe, I think it's like 67% of people, service businesses don't get in touch with the prospect for 24 hours. And if you could just cut that time in half, you'll be, halfway ahead of most of the service-based businesses. So tell me this, Dustin, what do you think? Like one question that every business owner should ask themselves tomorrow morning about this topic?
I think it's just simple. Do I know my numbers? And the numbers shouldn't be how much am I paying the agency and how much am I spending on ad spend? It should be, and those numbers do matter to be clear, but it should be, man, is our traffic increasing month over month? Keep seasonality in mind, but, are we seeing an uptick there? From the people who do know we exist and come to our site, how many of those actually give us their information? And then from there, of those that give us our information, how quickly do we follow up and how many actually turn into an estimate or a qualified lead? And if we don't know those things, we don't actually know where it's broken. All marketing, all good marketing will actually do, especially if we're talking to visibility, is just going to amplify how broken those later phases are.
Absolutely. So can you give me an example where, you had a client and the problem wasn't marketing at all?
Yeah. So this client in particular strongly believed that marketing is consistently the issue. I think we even had a back and forth in a call where they said, what's more important, marketing or sales? And how we got to this conversation was really simple. The context was, hey, a year ago, we were getting 10 or so leads a week. From those leads, this many were showing up to Zoom calls, and then we were closing like 40% of those. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound terrible. This year, we're getting a few more leads, but we're actually closing at a significantly lesser percentage. How do we fix this? So what did I do? We started talking about the sales process, and the sales process was all over the place. The way that they presented, their projects, at the point of approval was different. And there was like 5 different variations of it. The way that we were taking people through this customer journey was 1, extremely long, and 2, it was different from person to person, all just because. And then I sat down and put together this, 45-minute presentation about what the sales process should look like, how we could expedite things, split test something on the front end so we could go ahead and schedule Zoom calls right away by filling out a form, or give them the option to actually talk to somebody should they want to do that. But the idea was meet people where they're at, because these are busy people. And then we get to the end of this presentation and they're like, man, this is really great, but we don't think that's the problem. We just think we need better marketing. It's like, no, marketing wasn't the problem in the first place. Again, and they identified what the problem is. Our conversion rate from new qualified lead coming into sale has gone down significantly. So that's where the problem lies. And again, this idea of, marketing saves all, that's not the case, because if we just doubled ad spend and doubled visibility, now all of a sudden that expense line goes up significantly to get a conversion rate that we had a year ago. So our cost per new customer doubled. That doesn't make any sense. So let's identify what the real bottleneck is and fix the real problem. And that's what also makes us very different, because we're not just going, oh yeah, we could split test a new landing page and maybe we should just elevate our budget inside of Google Ads and that would fix things, because that's not the real truth. We see this time and time again. And the most interesting thing to me, and it's identify what the real problem is. We'll have business owners come to us and say, hey, we need to pause X, Y, or Z because cash flow has gone down. One, don't start digging a well when you're thirsty. You should be paying attention to this way ahead of time so that we can all strategize together. And the craziest thing to do and to undervalue is the fuel for the business. So if cash flow is going down, what most business owners will do is lean into scarcity. So we need to conserve, cut. And in some areas you should, but you shouldn't just take the fuel out of the race car and hope that you'll make it to the end of the race. What you should do is have an honest conversation of, hey, what are the things that make the most sense to keep going now? And what are some things that we could cut?
Yeah.
If this episode sounded a little too familiar, good. That means you've got something worth fixing. If you'd like us to take a look at your business, all the links are below. No obligation, no pressure. We'll have a conversation. We'll assess where your business is today, identify what's actually holding you back, and if we can help, we'll show you how to move forward. If not, we'll tell you that too. Until next time, guys, stop guessing, start diagnosing. We'll help you unfuck your biz.